The Cleveland Cavaliers, contenders or pretenders?
They're pretenders. Um, I'm going to, with the way that they got smoked last season, and the fact that I don't, they're just not prime. They're just not ripe. Like Mobley, he's been hot lately, but I'm waiting. When I can see, what I'm looking for is Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell. They're both of them being their best versions of themselves at the same time. So when I can see Darius Garland riding high and Donovan Mitchell has not, from a usage and from a productivity, and they're still ripping off, 15 out of 18 games or whatever their crazy streak was, then I will believe it. I know Donovan Mitchell is tried and true in the playoffs, so I'm not going to doubt that. But I need to see Darius Garland firing on all cylinders with Donovan Mitchell to call them a contender. And I'm not sure that that's going to happen. I wouldn't put my money on it once they get into the crucible of the playoffs in the second round. So
you're going with some pretenders for the
yeah,
Cavs?
for
All
sure.
right, Jay. All right.
You?
I'm going the other way. I'm going with contenders, and here's why. Let me get into it a little bit. So I do understand that I feel like there's this stigma around them that they're not really ready yet. Like how you said, I think you said
Mhm.
perfect word. They're not like prime ready for. But I think that stigma is wrong, and I think that they are ready and they're elite. And like here's why. I mean, as of right now, they're top in the Eastern Conference. I believe that they're the second seed at the time of recording, and they struggled to get healthy early in the season. But since December, since the start of December, they've have the best win percentage. They're number 3 offensive rating. They're number 1 defensive rating. And for some context here, the lowest teams in the league right now, they're averaging around 108 points per game, and that's teams like the Spurs, the Hornets, like there's teams that are like more bottom barrel of the league. They're averaging around 108 points per game. The last 12 of the last 12 wins that the Cavs had, they have held teams to 102 points or less. So that defense is just right now and an absolute high efficiency rating. That's why they're number 1 defensive ratings. And when I look for like a contending team, like I have a checklist. Man, Siri tripping on me. Siri, man, you heard that? Ain't nobody talking to you, Siri. What was that?
I thought it was your lady coming in there nagging
Oh,
you. She's like, she don't know you on the pod, bro. You gotta
man, come
you need
on.
to
That's
check your girl.
Siri
We're on the
tripping,
pod.
Mike.
We're
What?
recording.
Come on, man. All right. Anyway, like I was saying, Jay.
Checklist.
Exactly the checklist, right? When there's a contending team, I have a checklist that I run down through to see, like, okay, well, do they check all the boxes? And I realistically think that they do. Here, let's run through the checklist. Do they have that star guy? Do they have the 1A guy? Yes, they got Donovan Mitchell, which on the low, he's realistically an MVP candidate at this point. The way he's playing, the way he's carrying the Cavs, 28 points per game, 6 assists, 5 rebounds, shooting 47% from the field and 36% from the 3-point line. He's a 3-level scorer. He can go get it however, whenever. We both know that. So check. They got that. They got a star. They got a 1A guy. Do they got a playmaker? Yes, they got Darius Garland. He helps keep that offense in order. Not only can he play make for others, but he's the type of guy where he can play make for himself. Like he can be a traditional point guard and initiate the offense as that, but he can also shoot that thing from logo range as well. So check, they got a playmaker who can create for himself and for others. Okay, let's keep going down a checklist. Do they have shooting in today's day and age? You have to have shooting to win this in this league. Darius Garland shoot 38% from the 3-point line. Max Strus 36. Donovan Mitchell 36. They got players like Georges Niang who's shooting 35. They got also the right type of shooters, right? So in this league, there are shooters who can, you say this all the time. I actually think you've taught me this. Not all shots are created equally. So there's shooters who come off and can score off the dribble. There's catch and shoot guys. And they have a perfect mix of players like Darius Garland, Karis LeVert, Donovan Mitchell, who can create and just shoot off the dribble, shoot. However, they can also catch and shoot, but they also have a good mix of the Niangs, of the Max Struses, the guys who specialize in catch and shooting. Also, want to give some credit to Evan Mobley. You talked about how as of late he's been stepping up, and in his last 10 games, he's been knocking out at least 3 3-pointers per game. If he's hitting at least 2 of those 3 per game, that it just absolutely changes the game for their offensive, their their offensive game and the way the defense is game plan against them. So shooting, check, they got that. Defense, do they got that? They're elite. I mentioned that they're the number 1 defensive rating team since December. They're number 2. They're number 2 as of late. Also, Evan Mobley, he is the key to their defense. He unlocks their defense because of his ability to legitimately guard 1 through 5. He can stay with your guard and he can stay with your big in the inside. They got Jared Allen and Mobley down there, twin towers protecting the rim. Check, they got that. Depth, are they deep? Yes, in my opinion, you have a player like Karis LeVert, who's another version of Donovan Mitchell. And when I say this, I don't want people to think I'm saying Karis LeVert is Donovan Mitchell. No, Donovan Mitchell is an MVP type candidate, but Karis LeVert can just go get a bucket, however, whenever, similar to Donovan Mitchell.
On those second units too, easily on the second unit.
Exactly, on second units, exactly. And then you look at players like Jordan Yang, who knows his role, Isaac Okoro, who just knows his role. Players who specialize in what they do. So check, they got that. And then last thing, Jay, on the checklist is the little things. Have they took their lumps? Yes, they got bullied last year in the playoffs and lost 4-1 to the Knicks. They definitely felt that. They definitely took that lump. And do they have a team identity? Absolutely. Their identity is they know who their star is on the offensive end, and then they are killers on the defensive end. So when you run through that entire checklist, and I know this is long-winded, but star player they got, playmaker they got, shooting they got, defense they got, depth they got, have they took their lumps they got. So when you take all that into account, bro, they are contenders to me. They're ready to go.
Yes. I want to buy all of that, but I'm looking for that pinch point because there's an inflection point that every team has to go through. And when we talk about, I don't want to spoil it too much. I'm just going to keep it high level. For OKC, that is Jokic, like that, what the challenge he represents. And so for the Cavs on the East, that player is Giannis. So can they roll through the East? Their 2 challenges is going to be the Celtics and then Giannis standing in their way. And when I deduce, okay, Donovan Mitchell check, like somebody like the Knicks is going to sick OG Anunoby on him. With the Bucks, I don't know who that guy's going to be. People are going to take turns, but in the end, it's going to be Giannis. This all comes down to Evan Mobley, to be honest. And if he can do it, and my biggest thing, and you're going to always keep hearing me say this, is like when they're ripping off 15 out of 17 in the regular season, I always take that with a grain of salt, always, because they're doing it. Half of those wins, if not more, are going to be a bit against bottom feeders or bad matchups. And when you see the Bucks 7 games in a row, when you see the Celtics 7 games in a row, one of them might have injuries, Jaylen Brown or somebody might, but you can't factor in 3 or 4 of those teams getting a key injury. So do I have confidence that what the Knicks did to them last year isn't going to happen this year? Do I have confidence that if Giannis is not going to just flat out punk Evan Mobley? And I don't know. I'm not. I wouldn't bet that they're going to get through all 3 of them. So, and I can't call them a contender unless I think that they have a really realistic chance to run the gamut. So,
okay. And I feel like that's important. That's something for us that we got to list, because clearly your version of contender is like, okay, well, how do you match up? Because yes, that may be true, but my version of contender is like, I'm taking like all this into account, and like how I just ran through everything with the Cavs. So okay, that's something that we got to keep in mind. But okay, I mean, that is very valid point. They do got to get through the Bucks and the Celtics. I think that they'd have a more favorable matchup against the Celtics, in my opinion, just because I think that that Mobley and Giannis situation. I think Mobley last year, the lights were a bit too bright for him, and he got bullied. And it could happen with the Bucks again this year. But
we'll see. They might be ready. You never know when somebody's going from like level 2 to level 3, right? Yeah. They give you little flashes of it in the regular season, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh snap. Okay, Evan Mobley's here, right? I remember when that happened with Donovan Mitchell. I was like, okay, he's not to be played with right now.